Right, should we get going?
Yes, absolutely. Hold.
You want to do that? That might affect the equanimity of the machinery.
Well, I'm sure I can bring that in somewhere during the course of the chat. When are we going to have our beers?
Well, just in a second. I'm just going to intro
right.
the episode.
Okay, carry on.
Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Conversations with my father.
Yes, well, I'm not quite
Fantastic.
sure how to respond to that.
Well, just a hello usually is a
hello.
nice way of doing this.
It is.
And welcome to
all
our
that manages
Christmas.
a hello and he cuts me off.
Welcome to our Christmas special, recorded on Christmas Eve. So hopefully you'll be watching this on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, but there's a very quick turnaround for a very good reason, which is mainly because, well, both of us haven't quite been 100%. I, as you may well be able to see just up close, look like I've been beaten up. And I had a nasty encounter with my bathroom floor and fainted the other evening. And woke up on the floor face down and with a nice big graze on my face. And I've been ill the past few days, so I'm sorry for the state of my face. And yourself?
I've been fine, thanks.
You've been absolutely fine.
No, I haven't been fine, but I'm beginning to feel a bit better. To cut a long story short, dear Rowena had to take me to A&E in Tunbridge Wells, where I was admitted, and the dear admissions man, one of the tasks that he had was to take my blood pressure, and he looked at the reading and he thought the machine's gone wrong. Excuse me, would you let me try again? I said, yes, of course. And he did, and he said, there's still something wrong with this machine. I'm going to try a third time, which he did. And he said, I'm just going to speak to somebody because this shouldn't be happening. And as it turned out, all the readings were the same. The machine was working fine.
But you weren't working fine.
But he was very worried because my blood pressure readings were suggesting that I was quite close to departing this world. 75 over 36 or something. It was just dreadful.
And to put that into perspective, normally an average blood pressure should be 120 over 80. So if you were pretty much half that.
Yes.
So we're very lucky to have him here with us today. Anyway, we could talk too much about this, but we are going to try and keep this relatively concise and make your Christmas that little bit more special. We have some festive hats that you very kindly brought along, so I feel like we need to wear those.
I brought along.
That's what I said, which you brought along. So I'm hoping these will do the job and lift people's moods.
And when I put this on.
And then I've got a nice festive beer for us to have as well.
How does that look?
Not great at all. That needs to
get back there.
So you go to the side and then you look a little bit more
ridiculous.
A bit ridiculous. Would you like? Well, we've got. No, I know what you want because I got this for you earlier. So let's say a little. Well. Oh no. Doesn't sound as good that anymore. So this is a bottle opener that
which is
it sounds dead. That's
yes,
horrible.
Well,
so
yes.
we normally have that. It's a Spanish cheers, by the way. Happy Christmas. Good to have you here.
And to you too. Well, thank God I am still here.
Yeah, we wanted to celebrate, and we wanted to get this out in time because, cheers, lovely sir. Lovely to be here doing this. We wanted to get this out because we've said for the past week or so that we wanted to do a Christmas special, and we wanted to get it out on Christmas Eve, so we felt obliged to do so. Prior to delving deeper into the Christmas spirit, we wanted to just say a a few thank yous and just a little bit of housekeeping prior to us kind of cracking on with the episode. We have just hit 5,000 followers on Instagram.
I mean, it sounds impressive.
What it is in the sense that we've only been going since the 19th of November, so really what's that, 5 weeks, and so that's 1,000.
And this is
1,000
the
followers
fourth
a week,
episode.
which is just incredible. So everyone who has followed or is following, thank you very, very much for your support. The video that I've mentioned to you that was going viral is now nearing 750,000 views.
That's, yes, very,
which is ridiculous.
Amazing.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Particularly as it's a sad subject.
Sure, but it's hit so many kind of heartstrings with that. So, and some of the comments we've had off the back of that have been amazing. We have just over 130 subscribers on YouTube, and the country count on Spotify has grown. We now have UK, Ireland, US, Australia, Netherlands, New Zealand, Germany, Canada, India, Taiwan, France, and Singapore.
Great.
You do all of those?
Spain?
No, none from Spain, actually, by the looks of it. So the Spanish don't enjoy our content, but that's fine. And we wanted to, I want to try and keep this a bit of a tradition as well, as or consistent throughout each episode, is selecting 3 randomly chosen comments from our listeners. So first one is from Robin Calvert. He wrote in and said, "You and your father are delightful and extremely interesting. So many subjects I would love to hear more about. Pictures and the stories that will go with them from his early days. Sports, young love with your mother," which maybe we can avoid, "a young family with your kids. You you are sitting on a goldmine of great stories, conversations and lessons. Would also be interesting to hear how your mother is coping and how she feels about the changes in their relationship." I'm assuming he's talking about my mum and your wife there, not your mother.
Yes.
That may be comforting for him to hear. Thank you for the effort, and I'm excited to hear much more. You are both quite an inspiration. Thank you very much, Robin. Another one from Mary Harrison saying, "Just finished watching episode 2. I'm really enjoying these podcasts. Chris is such an entertaining man and gives an articulate account of his experiences. The loving bond between him and his son Freddie is evident. Saving episode 3 for tomorrow. Thank you both." And then Pauline_McHugh said, "I just love your father. He is the best. My own adored father had the Irish gift of storytelling and had me enraptured. He died in 2020. I wrote this down as 202, but in 2020, I think is what I meant. And your content brings me closer to him. So thank you for that." So really, really lovely messages from you all. So big thank you from both myself and Dad.
Well, yes, here.
There we go. Now,
Amazed.
Christmas.
Yes.
We need to talk about that because that is what people hopefully are tuning in for.
Yes.
Some people may have noticed a little Father Christmas in the bottom right of your screen. If you haven't, I'd like you to look there now because that has a certain story that I feel needs telling.
We can deal with both our items. So the Father Christmas and the Christmas tree are really quite old in terms of their position in our family. And the Father Christmas, who is holding 2 birthday cake candles or Christmas cake candles, whatever. So they only burn for about 15-20 minutes and then they're gone. And he's had an arm fall off at one point, and he's had his wrist chopped off, or it just broke.
He's had a horrible life, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, and he spends most of his life in a box.
Yeah.
But he's made in Scandinavia, and I think he's got a link with the Russian Orthodox Church.
Really?
But yeah, I think so. But I always light him on Christmas Eve evening or Christmas Day evening, as my father used to do, and he'd used to sit and look at it for the entire burning of the candles, and he would remember Christmases past and those who are no longer with us, and it just made sure that they were always brought to mind once a year.
You didn't ever put any of those birthday candles that really shoot up?
I've never, because I think
fireworks.
That would be irreverent, much as it would be exciting for you, particularly in your younger days, to have a spectacular firework display at the table.
Probably what cost him his arm.
It may well have done, but and the Christmas tree, I think, is of similar vintage and possibly origin.
That's lovely.
But it's one of the most important Christmas decorations that I own, that we own.
Yeah. Big sentimental
and I think
value.
having something like that, where it only takes 15-20 minutes to set aside from the rest of the day and quietly remember people you spent Christmas with in the past, friends and relatives no longer with us.
Yeah.
And that's a rather lovely thing, just to make the effort to recall.
Well, I think you've touched on a nice point there, in that we are very lucky in the Christmases we've had in the past that, generally speaking, have been very upbeat, very jovial. We have an amazing extended family. Mum is one of 4, and often, as we're doing tomorrow, we're all getting together as a big family. I think there are 20 of us tomorrow, and it is generally very upbeat, and it's an amazing day. But I understand that for a lot of you that may be watching this, it's not so upbeat. So I hope that we can elevate your mood a little bit, but also want to share our thoughts and so on with people that have sadly lost people or loved ones in the past year or so.
It's a very good point, because
Thank you.
when you get to Christmas, particularly the first one after
You've lost someone.
Someone special.
Yeah.
It is almost inevitable that you will think back and have an emotional moment. Particularly if Christmas has been a generally happy time over the years.
Yeah.
But we don't have any right to that, to have happy Christmases. And it's good just to remember those who are no longer with us, but give thanks for the presence of these people in your happy times.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a very good point, Fredo.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I actually find the build-up, kind of the week before Christmas, maybe not this year, because our build-up to this Christmas has been slightly shadowed by overshadowed by what's been going on. Me being quite unwell and Dad being the same. But normally that week build-up is so exciting, and there is so much to do, people to see, the social side of things. I felt the week before Christmas for me was too big, hence why I may have succumbed to man flu, I think we'll call it, that I contracted. But I just love that social side to Christmas, and I think the same with you, in that you feel the couple of days before Christmas is always such an exciting time.
Yes,
not to say that Christmas and Boxing Day it isn't, but the excitement sometimes can override the actual day itself.
Yes, I love I love Christmas Eve, because it is with reference to the carols. And Kings.
Of course.
Really the start to the Christmas season.
Yeah.
And if particularly you become well organised enough, and when I say we, it's mostly Mum.
Yeah, sure.
Who've done the organisation and the preparation. But the anticipation of Christmas Day and Boxing Day is always marvellous.
Yeah.
But Christmas Eve is glorious. Should we talk about kings now? And
By all means. By all means.
as you will have heard in the first episode about my education,
Yeah, first episode. Yeah, it would have been.
you'll know that my early days of education from 1967 to 72 were at King's College Choir School, Cambridge. And I didn't appreciate when I was there that it was incredibly special, not just an end of term Christmas service in a chapel or local church,
Yeah.
but to have our end of term service in King's Chapel with that wonderful choir singing was,
The same choir that we listened to this afternoon.
yes,
Yeah.
was utterly fabulous.
That's special.
And in later years, sorry about this. Is that the
4,
right time? Yes.
5.
Well, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Is that right?
So the service act that we're talking about has just finished. But in my 20s and 30s, I would queue up with a mate, with William, because we both had been to King's, and felt the same way about the importance of this carol service to us through our early lives. And we would queue up around the quadrangle at King's and always try to get there by about 7 in the morning so that we could be assured of a place once the queue was allowed into the chapel.
Yeah.
We could be assured of a place in with the choir. And King's Chapel is
That was allowed. You could just get in there.
Well, there were spaces.
Oh, is it behind the choir?
No, along from the choir.
Right.
So the remarkable thing about King's Chapel is that it's a perfect rectangle.
Yeah.
And the organ is placed, and the organ screen is in the middle of the building.
Yeah.
And therefore gives a far better musical accompaniment to the choir.
Yeah, sure.
So the entrance end of the chapel is full of congregation.
Okay.
Then you have the organ screen.
Yeah.
And then you have the choir beyond that facing inwards.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, you have plenty of room for other congregations.
Sure.
And being sitting between the choir on one side and the organ beyond them. And then you have this magnificent, enormous picture by Rubens of the Adoration of the Magi.
Okay.
Which is a classic Christmas scene.
Yeah.
And to be so close to this without any protection or obvious security just makes the whole experience incredibly special.
I had this image of you and William just parked up between choir singers, a bit like Bop the Mole, you know, when you try and hit them to get them out of the way, and you just popping up and and trying to do the descant or something.
No, we don't do that. No,
okay.
Sorry, that's rather disappointing.
It was, yeah, because that would have been a nice thought. But
to be sitting there with the candlelight beginning to take effect as the ambient light from outside the chapel died away.
Yeah.
So the beauty of the stained glass windows was there to see during the daylight, but then it faded. Yeah. And then you were brought into the building, more into the fabric of the building. Yeah. Because of the candlelight. Yeah. It was magnificent.
Well, they've all been designed with that, in mind. All these, whoever designed that chapel, cathedral. Sorry.
Well, it's not a cathedral.
Okay, chapel.
Oxford's is a cathedral.
Will appreciate your feedback, because I'm sure that's all gone.
Yes. Oh, I enjoyed it. So that's one of my.
It's a special. It is also because it's come from Dad. It's also a special thing for us as well as a family. So this afternoon when it came on at 3 o'clock, wasn't it?
Yes.
It is just it's a nice moment for us all. So I suppose that brings us on to Christmas Eve evening.
Yes.
And we have our stockings laid out here. Well, we have two at the moment because my brother uh, took his back to London with his gifts in it, and
Last
they
year.
last year and has failed to bring it back. Now these stockings are obscene, I would say. I don't think
In
you've,
terms of
in
size,
terms of size,
they are
if I
appalling.
can just demonstrate
Gluttony
the
and
sheer
greed.
size of that, which only that much is filled, by the way. So when we lift it up, it's very disappointing. No, we've been spoilt from a young age, and I don't know why you bought those in the first place.
Mum
Because,
made them.
oh, mum made them. Of course she did. So they're very special, and
And what else we got?
we've got a couple of tiny mince pies to make up for the enormous stockings, and then a couple of things that often end up in my stocking in particular is a tangerine or clementine or satsuma. What is the difference between them, by the way? Do you know?
Different letters in the word.
Different letters.
Satsuma and
Very,
tangerine have.
very helpful as always.
I don't know the answer to that.
But so what we were told from a young age was that if you had a satsuma in your or clementine or tangerine in your stocking, it meant that you'd been slightly misbehaved in the year leading up to that Christmas, but not so badly behaved that you got a piece of coal.
Ah,
But we've never received a piece of coal because we're incredibly well-behaved children.
there's a very well stocked coal scuttle next door.
Well,
by the way.
it's well stocked because we're so well behaved. That's why. But each year, there's often one of these that features in our stocking from Father Christmas. So we thought we'd try and give you as much of our Christmas experience, or certainly Christmas evening experience as possible. And we don't do this anymore, but we used to, when we were younger, write letters to Father Christmas with our list of what we'd like. We never used to send them off to Lapland. In fact, I don't remember us ever doing that. We were deprived of that experience.
Not
from me.
necessarily, because Father Christmas does have mythical properties.
He does. That's very true. That's very true. So you can see down.
So hover.
Yeah, he'll hover above
the house.
Yeah,
Look down, see
with
the
his
letters, which
binoculars
were always-
down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And drop off the things that you'd asked for.
That's true. But he'll come down. So this is the chimney that Father Christmas comes down
Yes.
each year.
So we'll have to let this down before.
We'll let this down because otherwise he'll get a very hot bottom.
experience. Yes.
But we would leave, so we'd write our little letters to Father Christmas, and we'd leave them by our stocking each Christmas Eve evening. And some of them were very funny, and it's quite nice that we've kept a few of them. And some of the things I used to ask for were just ridiculous. I mean, the obscene things.
Yes.
Obscene in the sense that very greedy from me. I seem to remember a sports car was in there one year.
Was it?
That was quite something to ask for.
A real-sized one?
Needless to say, I didn't receive. I think that's what I meant, but I never didn't receive that that year.
Oh well, I hope
Very
you weren't
sad.
too disappointed by
And just a lot of ridiculous things as a kid. So, but when we'd come down in the morning on Christmas Day, these amazing stockings would be full, and Father Christmas would always sign off in. I think majority of the time it was a gold pen, or sometimes a silver pen, but I think majority of the time it was a gold pen. Now, what I loved was every year Father Christmas would write a little note saying, "Well done, Freddie or Albert or Phoebe, for another brilliant year. Send my love and best wishes to the family," and so on. And then he would always finish with his signature, which was FC. But I realised over time that your Father Christmas, his signature was £2. So that pound sign and the number 2 was, so FC was £2 upside down.
Yes.
So very, very cool signature from Father Christmas. That is always something I look forward to. But we haven't written anything this year, so they're probably going to be empty upon arrival tomorrow morning. But it's always a very exciting experience. And we come up to Mum and Dad's room, which is right above where we're recording now, and carry our stockings in there and explain and show what we open everything upstairs. We all have our seating positions in the room. Bert and I have our backs roasted against the radiator.
Yeah.
I went to China back in 2008 and I bought this obscenely tight and inappropriate silk dressing gown with a big dragon on the back. Looked like I was offering a service, the sort of dressing gown I had on. And a bit ridiculous. Anyway, I don't know where it's gone actually.
No, well,
probably in the bin, which is probably a good thing.
Where it's gone.
But that would often be worn, and Bert and I would sit with our backs to the radiator. We probably will tomorrow morning. And Phoebes would sit on the bed in the middle between Dad and Mum, and we open our stockings, and it's all very exciting. Lupin, our dog as well, is now going to feature for sure. But it's all very exciting.
Yes.
And then Father Christmas will provide for you and Mum as well.
Yes, he hasn't forgotten us
So
over the years.
he's very good at that actually.
And we also have a competition with the
we do actually
stocking wrapping paper, in that we put a large bag at the end of the bed.
Yeah.
And
empty bag.
Yes, empty bag, sort of bin liner, but it's got to be sufficiently firm to stay open, even though it hasn't got a lot in it. So it starts in that way, hasn't got a lot in it, and it ends that way, doesn't have a lot in it, because our throwing skills and the density of the wrapping paper, neither are at top form.
No, I think I think the excitement of the day slightly overcomes our ability to throw that morning.
Yes.
But I find it quite, it's a fun part, and it's a tradition that we have each morning on Christmas morning, is throwing that into the bag.
It just goes downhill from that point.
It's very true, very, very true. Other big things, we wanted to share our Christmas experience with you, because I always love hearing people's stories, what they get up to on Christmas Day, and we thought we'd kind of share ours with you. So that's kind of the initial bit. Would you like to take it? What do we do next?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. Actually, you bowled me a fast.
Who? Where? Is it Christmas?
What have you got written down there?
I've got a few more things, but that was what I just written down, was to fire over to you the next section of the.
Yeah, well, just give me a subject.
They're coming down here and breakfast, and then.
Well, I can also just hark back to my own family Christmases.
So completely avoiding the question.
No, you've asked me to carry on, so I'm going to.
But with our day.
Oh, our day.
Yeah, our day.
Oh,
we'll come on to you.
Up to date.
We're good at talking about you, but come on to us as a family.
Us, okay.
Yeah.
Well, by the time we get downstairs, after the stocking opening process, we will generally have some small nibbles.
Yeah.
Because we know there's a big lunch coming up as part of the day's entertainment. And we'll have a drink of something possibly alcoholic.
Yeah, more often than not it is.
And we know
there's
that,
alcohol inside.
That this is a lovely time on our own, where the 5 of us as a family have time together, relaxed and getting ready for the rest of the day's celebrations, which will involve the larger part of Mum's family.
Yeah.
And this year, very especially, we have one of my cousins coming to share the day with us, because we had our original intention of including all of Mum's family, which is one of the rare occasions when everyone is together at the same time, all the cousins, all the uncles and aunts, and Grandma. And I thought, as an only child, who is my closest living relative? And it's blindingly obvious, and I wish I hadn't taken me so long to be firm about this, but I have a cousin who lives close to us, and Mum and she get on incredibly well.
Well, she gets on well with everyone. She's brilliant.
She does.
She's lovely. Lovely lady.
I thought, well, I can still invite my closest family member, and so that's what we've been able to do. And whilst you may think, well, that's pretty straightforward, let's not get too worked up about it. In the last week, with the various
abuse that I've received.
No, you haven't had a lot of
abuse from my bathroom floor that I
yes, I see what you mean.
got incredibly comfortable with.
I've been attacked in the bathroom.
Yeah. Not nice.
Sorry, that might have.
Yeah, may have disturbed the equanimity of your machinery.
But Christmas has been on and then off and then on again.
Yeah.
And that's been quite a challenge. So it's lovely that dear Jenny can come and join us.
But coming again back to the point of just discussing the day.
Have I moved on?
You have. You're very good at that.
Gone
very,
off
very
point.
good at off on a
Waffling.
You off-piste is the way I describe you. You're
I
very
was always
rarely
told in
on-piste.
many of my essays at school that I waffled.
And
for many years I thought that was quite a compliment.
A waffle maker.
This is waffle. Thank you very much.
So yeah, our day is amazing. We have this big. We often this time we'll be listening to the King's Speech, which is always a
film with.
We're not going to tune in to the Netflix special. We will be tuning in for the first time, as I'm sure a lot of you will be doing on. Is it 3:00 tomorrow?
It is.
For the first ever of my life and of yours. Yes, of course. You're not that old. Of a king doing a speech at Christmas, and then we will often have our big dinner, which is always amazing. And then this leads me on to the games. Not the games. Sorry. Prior to the games. The crackers that we often have, Christmas crackers, I'm sure again a lot of you do, that dotted around the table. Everyone is assigned a cracker, and we do the pulling of the cracker, and the reading of the jokes and the wearing of the hats, and so on. And for some weird reason, Grandma often.
I couldn't carry on from here.
Yeah, but you're very good at going off-piste.
No, I promise I won't go off-piste.
Good. You take it from here.
Because you're beginning to make a mistake.
I've set you up. So I'm very sorry.
I thought it'd be a good idea to buy some homemade cracker material.
Yes.
So we're going back a few years, and I wrote all the jokes, and I thought it would be amusing, certainly for me, to put a slightly inappropriate joke in my mother-in-law's cracker. Which went like this. What do you... Sorry, I've heard this before.
Bearing in mind that all the other jokes are standard cracker jokes, the sort of ones that get the sort of response of,
yes.
Next
well,
one.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
So this one went as follows. What is the difference between a bad marksman and a constipated owl? So...
Everyone's just stunned at this stage.
Well,
it's true.
The word constipated is the only vaguely dodgy word in that. I think, well, it's interesting, but I couldn't tell you the answer. And
this is Grandma reading this out as well.
Yes.
So she's quite confused by it all.
So, no idea, Sheila. What is the difference between bad marksman and a constipated owl. And she was very studiously reading this, which was in my handwriting. I wasn't trying to hide it or anything. And she said, one can shoot but can't hit, and the other can hoot but can't shit. And she said, goodness me, that's unusual for a cracker joke. And then all the rest of the table collapsed in laughter.
Bear in mind, there's some quite young ears around the table.
It was inappropriate in every sense of the word inappropriate. But
Which sums that up at these occasions sometimes.
Yeah, I do.
But I thought you'd do that each year, so you'd sometimes take undo a cracker and take out what's
joke.
in Grandma's one, and then
really
reinsert one of your own.
No, I did try other things, which with having second thoughts, I decided were too dangerous.
Probably.
Which would, those popper things? Which
yes. What, you could have put one of those in a cracker?
I thought
it's like a firework.
Well, I thought if I filled the cracker with flour.
You're making a small bomb,
yes,
in a sense.
I know. So from the moment I started thinking,
as you were inserting the flour into
this would be a good idea. The time expired between then and actually this could be seriously dangerous. Was relatively short. So please don't
flour,
do this at home.
Yeah, please do not try this at home. Does the flour slightly
yes, it
ignite?
can be quite explosive.
Right. Okay. When in proper powder.
Yeah,
powder
I think
form.
so.
Okay, blimey.
So really,
please do not
recommended.
try that at home.
But funny in contemplation, of course. But
top Christmas tip.
No.
Avoid it at all costs. This leads us on to post-dinner. I'd like to think majority of families have some form of game, Christmas game to play, whether it be charades, whether this be Cluedo, Monopoly, you name it. There'll be, I'm sure there's some, you will all have some sort of game that you play, or we certainly like to do that. But we like to go slightly off-grid, as I don't like just opening up a board game. I just find them a bit. We do it every year. I like what I'm trying to say is that we do.
A board game.
Of course, board, BORED game.
Oh,
I see. We often play this game called the name game. Which is 3 rounds. As I've just done that on my 3 rounds, that's show I'm not quite with it. We do 3 rounds, which are...
How many rounds do we do?
I think there are 3 rounds that we do. And in each of the 3 rounds that we have, there are different sections to it. So at the beginning, let's say we have 15 people round. Everyone has 10 pieces of paper, whatever it is, random number, it doesn't matter. Write down whatever name you can think of. So whether that be David Beckham, it could be someone in the room, it could be, I don't know, Frank Sinatra, it could be alive, dead, whatever. But as long as it's something that people can kind of relate to in a certain sense, not just a made-up name. No. And
it took you a year or two to get the hang of that.
It certainly did. I did used to make names up.
Who on earth is that?
And we'd scrunch them up, put them into a hat, and you'd have 70, 80 names or so in the hat. First round, you split into 2 teams, and first round is basically like charades in a sense. You open it up and you explain. You have to, without saying their name, you have to explain to everyone on your team who this person is, and they have to guess it. Once you've guessed it, you move on to the next one, and you are allotted, I think it's a minute we give everyone.
Or 30, yes.
Or 30 seconds, whatever.
Grandma,
Anyway, so your grandma often struggles with this, and there are certain members of the family that are very, very good, and generally a score of kind of 8 or 9 in a minute is very acceptable. Anyway, once you've finished with those names, all the names go back in the hat, and you're noting down the scores each team as well, so you're tallying them up. Then the second round is you have to act out the name that you see on the piece of paper. So the names have all been read out, but they're back in the hat now. So you have a rough understanding of who the people are.
With one word.
No, we'll come on to that. Act them
Okay.
out. So you don't say anything. This is the acting round. So this is, I hope I'm getting this right. I am getting this right. So this is now charades, isn't it? This is true.
You're not getting this right.
I am.
Carry on. I shouldn't interrupt.
I think I am. So this is acting out. So no words. You just act out who this person is. Again, get the names done. Put them all back in the hat. And the third round is then one word. This is right.
There'll be our viewer.
Variations of this. But this is our way we do this.
Our
I
viewer
don't know
will
what game
be
you play.
howling at you and saying, "This is not right."
And it's one word to describe that person. And at this stage, the game has got to a stage where there could be a word. Often Rolf Harris pitches up.
Oh God, we've gone. I really hoped you wouldn't.
But that's all we need to say. We don't need to say any more. He is who he is. Sometimes there are names that come up, and
you know that they've been written by me.
well, I didn't say anything. That's you saying that. And you
Another example of inappropriate behaviour.
exactly.
Carry on.
And we don't need to say any more other than when certain things are acted out or one word come into play, it can get quite funny and inappropriate. But we have a laugh, and I'm sure, as a lot of other families do, sometimes things get out a little bit out of hand, but I think in a nice way.
Well, because we know each other so well.
That's exactly.
Basically the game that, with rounds 2 and 3, activities swapped over.
I don't agree with that. But there we go. That's your version. I have heard of another round, which is you then have one action, so you have to do one movement to describe for
You're in
that
a
person.
hole now, and you're digging deeper.
No, that's just what I've been told by a client. But feel free to chuck down a ladder and bring me out of the hole.
Yeah, I think I might have to do that.
Do, by
Anyway,
all means.
Carry on.
No, you carry. You've taken over, so
Well,
baton's over to you.
still on the subject of Christmas games, my Christmases when I was a child were generally spent with the same 4 people, mum and dad, my mother's mother, so for the Scandinavian viewers, that is Mormor, and Auntie Emmett, who was a great, not member of our family. She was an adopted aunt.
Great aunt.
No.
Where were you going with great there? Person?
Yeah, let's leave that and not be diverted, because I know we're pushed for time. And Dad the other important thing to know about this, otherwise you won't find it at all funny, was that we always had the same theme each year, which was British cities, towns, village names. We had to guess what these were that were being acted out in front of us. Dad's favourite, which came out every year amongst howls of laughter, was Burnham on Crouch, which is an Essex town. So his response to that, or his acting, consisted of kneeling on the well, not quite kneeling, but he was crouching on the floor.
Burnham on Crouch.
Yes, Burnham on Crouch. And he'd get his cigarette lighter, and he'd simply set light to it and hold it a suitable distance
from
his wedding tackle. He hadn't disrobed or anything disgusting like that. But we all spent an inordinately large amount of time trying to guess it. We all knew what it was.
Yeah.
But it was incredibly funny to see my father crouching on the floor with a cigarette lighter in a vulnerable.
What was that? I feel like he did one with a hammer as well. Was there a?
Oh yes, he wrote Smith on
That
the
was
name
it.
of on a piece of paper, and then he got the hammer from his tool shed, lay the piece of paper on the floor, and just started banging the Smith. And
I don't know if that's allowed technically, because you've said half the way, you've written down half the way. You might as well have just written Hammersmith,
Yes.
because we've had that in the past with Grandma and describing Lord of the Rings and
Yes, we
saying
have.
Frodo.
And it
Yeah.
is incredibly funny when people are having difficulty trying to get these right.
Yeah.
But my grandmother's contribution to this involved me, and she said, "Christoph, come here, would you?" So I went over to my grandmother and stood by the chair, which was hers whenever she came at Christmas.
Yeah.
And she proceeded to administer corporal punishment very gently.
Right.
Um,
Well, it can't have been punishment then.
no, but people know what I'm talking about if
Okay.
I describe it thus. And her town name, I think it's in Dorset,
Right.
or Wiltshire, I'm not quite sure,
Yeah.
was
We've gone again.
Middle Wallop.
Middle wallop.
Yes, so
Oh, I see.
she'd whack me very much in the middle of the backside,
Yeah.
and then she'd point to it, so you've got the wallop,
Yeah.
and then pointing to the middle.
Oh my God.
And that was one of the less enjoyable.
Well, so you actually had to ask one of you to be a prop.
Well, I was the prop.
You
yeah.
were always of course you would have been. You were the only
Always
child.
been the prop.
Torture for you then.
I think Dad also enjoyed Piddle Trent Hyde.
Well, there are numerous towns in the UK which I'm sure he would have enjoyed putting a charade
Yes, he did.
acting bit too.
Yeah.
But needless to say, there are plenty of games that I'm sure a lot of you play. But we have our kind of select few that we like to do each year, and then we leads on to us. I mean, the overflow of cheese and whatnot that comes later in the evening, and everyone just gets more and more tired and whatnot. I feel our Christmas is quite well behaved. Not many people get
Yes. Was that one of the questions?
pissed in the bushes or anything like that.
No.
No one
It's
is.
far too cold.
No, exactly. But no, I think we have a very very enjoyable Christmas, and I hope it's the same tomorrow as well. And that would just kind of, I would like to kind of round it off because I don't want this episode to be too long. But unless you have any final thoughts.
Well, my happy Christmas is in.
Oh, in the multiple languages.
Yes.
Do.
So
Well, you're pretty good at English. You can say that.
Yeah, I'm pretty fluent.
You're pretty good. You're pretty good at that. So that's one. I think I could probably do a few, but
Okay. Well. Oh, I thought I was.
Joyeux Noël.
That's French.
That is French.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
That's
Spanish.
Feliciano Lopez
Yeah.
or something.
You probably do American as well.
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, if you like me to just go through the main English-speaking countries,
Yeah.
which are predominantly Christian,
Sure.
it would certainly include the United States.
United States.
Have a great Christmas, y'all. It would then extend down to South Africa,
Yeah.
which is a pretty straightforward greeting. Happy Christmas, guys. And
Is there no other terminology they use?
well, they might do, but I'm not
yourself
familiar
here.
with that.
No.
And then we go on to Australia and cool Yule, everybody.
Is that what they say? Cool
well,
Yule.
Not necessarily all the time,
No.
but it's it's a well-intended greeting.
Okay.
Which is great. And then one can go to New Zealand, where it's can be really quite eclipsed.
Yeah.
Not
I
back to
feel
South
I
Africa.
feel
quite a clipped. Are
Australians.
you interrupting
I
me
am
now?
because you're very good at. Would you say Australians is quite like laid back? It's quite. Would you say it's quite like that?
Yes, I
Whereas
would.
New Zealand is quite a little bit more up at the end of every sentence.
Yes, that's right. It
A little bit
sounds
more
as
like
if they're
that.
asking you a question
Question.
all the time, and it invites the listener
Yeah.
to nod their head
Okay.
a lot. So if you ask a question, whether it's actually unlikely to be
You've gone South African now.
bollocks. I have gone. I
So back to
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Well, we'll give it our best shot. Now I've gone back to South African again. Normally I can do this.
I've thrown you.
So, and then back to Europe for the
Yeah.
Christmas greetings.
Yeah.
So for Scandinavia, it's got Yule, which I've done. German, fröhliche Weihnachten. Weihnachten. Entschuldigen Sie mir bitte. Fröhliche Weihnachten. Which is Happy Christmas in German, you know.
German, yeah.
You have some, although he came from Austria. Arnold Schwarzenegger was from Austria, which I've just said.
Austria.
And that is how they would greet each other
Yeah.
in Germany or
Freil-
Austria.
What is it called?
Fröhliche is happy,
Fröhliche.
so
Okay.
happy time.
Yeah.
And Weihnachten is Christmas night.
Okay.
So that's good.
Yeah. So,
And Italian?
it's got to be similar to French, isn't it? I don't know. Buon
Buon Natale.
Buon Natale.
Sì.
Buon Natale. You said just have to do with that.
A lot of
every time.
Plenty of.
No, you're going
yes.
to Germany there again.
Oh, this is awful. This has never happened. I mean, this is zero coupon.
It is, isn't it? Alcohol free. We've done pretty well. Sweden.
That's got Yule.
Oh, that's got Yule. Scandinavia. Okay. Is that the same for Finland, Sweden, Norway?
Yes.
Iceland.
Denmark.
Okay.
I'm not going to do Russian. A,
No.
I don't know it, and
B, you don't think
it's inappropriate.
Sure.
And that's it.
That's about it. Fantastic. So I hope for all we did have viewers in Taiwan.
Yes.
We'll avoid that as well.
I can't.
Singapore was another one, but they speak very good English out there.
They speak very good English. They'd understand.
Canada. We have viewers in Canada.
Oh, they also speak with a great accent.
Yeah.
So rather
Canadians.
like the Americans, they.
That's very true.
Understand that.
You've done India. We could probably avoid as well.
No, well, I don't mean that in the.
Ireland.
Oh, feck it. Have a great Christmas and enjoy yourselves. Don't over drink and don't over consume. I think that is probably the right word to use there.
To do that.
But just going back to India, I haven't included them because there's not. Sorry, wrong accent. But there's not although there are plenty in the Christian community there. It's not known as a Christian nation.
Okay, sure. Well, we've done pretty much. All the accents from all the countries that listen. So that's pretty good. I'm sure they'll all appreciate that. And what we'd like to say is we'd like to wish you a very, very happy Christmas. And this will be our final episode of 2022, which is quite something. Even though we started only 5 weeks ago. But it's been a great year from a podcast perspective so far, albeit a month. A massive thank you from myself and my dad for everyone that has tuned in, that has supported, and that has shared the content that we've put out there. I hope this will bring some entertainment to your Christmas occasion or celebrations over the next day or two. And what should all the listeners or viewers do right now? Tell them.
Oh,
yeah, because some of them won't be watching. Some will
that's
be
very true. Thumbs
listening.
up sign. There's a heart, isn't there, that they should.
You can do it depending on what you're watching it on. Yeah.
subscribe,
Yep, that helps.
and then I've run out of ideas.
Notifications helps as well on YouTube and Instagram. You can do that. Turn the notifications on.
Apparently is very
And
helpful.
please do share this as well, whether it be just word of mouth or a little repost on Instagram or whatever it may be. Do keep spreading the word, because we want to help as many people as possible. And given some of the comments we've had that I read out earlier in the episodes, some of the impact that we've had on certain people has been incredibly positive and also very humbling from our perspective.
Yes, it has. That people have taken the trouble to respond.
Yeah.
Is very kind and makes me feel very humble.
Sure.
Actually, for the past 2 evenings since my close association with low blood pressure, I've been rehearsing a little 2-minute message, because having promised you all an issue coming out on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, it was really tough to make the decision that we wouldn't be able to live up to that.
Sure.
And so it is really satisfying to be able to have this conversation and put out there our podcast, when in the past 24 hours I've thought,
no, we both weren't in a great way, so
we can't do this.
hopefully you'll appreciate that. And,
yes.
And yeah, just one final big happy Christmas from both
of us. Yes,
both of us.
Thank you very much for being with us for this little tete-a-tete.
Yeah,
that's for our French viewers. And we would like to think that you all have a very happy time, several very happy moments during your day, and that we can all approach 2023 with a degree of optimism that we will leave 2023 in a better place than we entered it. I'm thinking about wartime and that sort of thing, but yeah. Thank you. I'm going off.
He's going off one. Thank you very much for listening. That is episode 4, over and out. Well done. Another cracker. Very good, Dad.